Hey guys, Johnny Andrews here from Johnny's Creations. I got a quick little video to show you how to make a battery-powered hovercraft using everyday recycling materials and just a few cheap electronics off of Amazon. The hovercraft itself is made out of a styrofoam meat tray, a paper cup, and some dollar store foam board. So if you stick around, I'll show you how to make one of these battery-powered hovercrafts. Alright, grab yourself a styrofoam meat tray. The size doesn't really matter. It's be as big or as small as you want. I chose to use a 9-inch by 11-inch styrofoam meat tray and just a standard size paper cup. So the idea is to, we're going to make a vent, kind of an air intake out of the cup, and we're going to mount it to the top of the styrofoam meat tray. And further on the video, we'll explain how to hook up the motor, the wiring, the battery, and how to make this whole little thing work. Now we only need the top inch of this cup. We can throw the rest away, but the easiest way I found to do that was to get a line on the cup. So I take 2 Lego blocks, my pencil, rest it on the ground, put your cup, and just spin your cup. Put the pencil up on the side, and that should give you a perfect line all the way around the cup. Piece of cake. Grab yourself an X-Acto knife, trim around the edge, cut the top off. Now that the top is removed from the cup, throw the bottom away, take the top. Positioning. You have to position it offset. Do not put it in the center, because when you go to put your battery on one side or the other, you're going to have trouble balancing. I would usually offset it. I don't know if that's the 3rd point or the 1/4 point. Somewhere around there. I could ramble on. Alright. Yeah, so put your little duct vent. Doesn't have to be perfect. I just eye it up as close to the center as you can. Take your pencil. Trace around the inside because you want a tight fit. If you go on the outside, it might leave too big of a gap. So trace the circle. Like so. Remove that. Cut out your circle. Okay, pop out the piece. Take your duct vent. Give it a little test fit. Nice and snug. Okay, so when you mount the duct vent, you want it to be almost flush with the tray here. I usually leave a little bit of an edge, so I'm going to seal around that with the hot glue gun, so it's nice to have an edge to follow. If you push it too far through, when your hovercraft's sitting on the ground, you're going to plug out that vent and it's not going to allow the air to flow. So don't push it too far through. Like I say, just leave it as flush as you can get it, and I'll leave a little edge for glue. Okay, so this is the top of the meat tray. I don't want to put any glue on top, it just looks messy. Flip it over, do all your gluing from the bottom. So again, I left that little edge, gives you something to glue to. Simply take your glue gun and go around. Doesn't have to be clean, you just want it to be secured. Go all the way around. You want that part to be good and strong. And then once you get it glued, again, with the mess, you want to make sure it's mounted level. So you have a couple seconds to make sure that's in there. Good and straight. Still a little crooked there. No biggie. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. Alright. I always like to take my finger and just swipe it around to get the edges off of there. I don't recommend doing this. Could burn yourself. Don't try that at home. Alright, so you have your basic hovercraft template. Let's get some power in it. Okay, to power our little hovercraft, I get most of my electronics off of Amazon now. Back in the day, I used to salvage old broken cars, anything I could pull these little motors out of. Yeah, any old toys. Nowadays, just going to Amazon. I bought this kit. I think it was like 20 bucks. It came with 6 motors, came with a bunch of 9-volt battery connectors. There's about half a dozen of the AA connectors, on-off switches, propellers, linkages, axles, like a bunch of stuff. Like you'll be able to use all sorts of these pieces on many different projects. Again, I'm not trying to advertise the company or anything, but if you can make that out, that's the information there. I didn't pick it for any specific reason. It's just the first one that came up on Amazon. The only detail I will give, I bought one kit that came with the little 3, I think they were 1.5 to 3 volt DC. I found these little guys were burning out because most of my projects go with the 9-volt battery, just because of its weight to power ratio. So I was burning out a lot of these little tiny motors. They just weren't rated for that voltage. So I ended up buying another kit. Came with the same size motor, and it just had a higher voltage rating. This motor is rated for, I think, 6 to 12 volts. So no chance of burning it out with a 9-volt battery. It does put out a lot more power, and yeah, so it's got the red back. Don't buy the one with the black back. I don't know if that's standard for all motors, but that's just the way these kits came. Don't get the black one, get the red one. So it came with all these propellers. These little blower fans here, they work great for hovercrafts. We'll explain in more detail about how these work and which way they're supposed to be mounted, and we'll also go through yeah, a quick little kind of how to solder things up. I'm not a professional, but I'll make it work. So yeah, that's our powerhouse for powering this little hovercraft. There's a few simple ways to mount the motor. I usually start with taking 2 pieces. This is dollar store foam, cut to about 3/4 by 3 inches, anywhere 3 to 4 inches. I laminate 2 pieces together with hot glue, and you can either mount the motor directly to that foam with hot glue, or with a little kit that I ordered from Amazon, it comes with these motor mounts. You can hot glue that right to your crosser piece. Once it's cool, you can position it over top of the duct, obviously centered, so the motor can sit dead center on the duct opening. So before we do any soldering, we have to determine which way this motor has to spin. This is a pusher prop that they send with these kits, so they're designed to only rotate one way. You can tell by the curve that's in those blades. So they're pusher props. So we want our motor to spin. When you're facing dead on the propeller, you want it to spin clockwise. That'll push the air away from the motor. So to double check that, we're going to hook up our little battery connector here. We're going to put our wires on the end of those terminals, hold the motor firmly, give a little test. So don't cut your finger, but that blows the air away, so that's what we want. I already put a mark on the motor. I just marked it R for red wire, over here B for black wire. That'll be handy when you come to solder to make sure the right colors go to the right tabs on this motor. There's many different ways to do this. You can either just strip the wires long, feed them through the hole, and just twist them in place. It might work, but it's not the most secure method and probably not the safest. It's best to solder all the connections. It'll just be better off in the long run. So if you want a proper way as to how to solder this up, don't follow my videos. I'm sure you can go onto YouTube and Google and look up how to properly solder. The way I like to do it, I got a little soldering pen off of YouTube. It cost me like 20 bucks. The way I usually do it, I just get a little bit of solder on the tip, and then I will drop it onto the terminal with the wire on it. And a little bit of solder on the tip, and then I put the little drop on the wire. So that's how I do it. Again, it may not be right, but it works. So you can use that as is, hooking up the motor, the battery, that's your on, that's your off. Or if you want something a little better, the little kit does come with an on-off switch. Simply just take a pair of wire strippers, cut your red wire, strip your two ends, solder on your switch, and then you won't have to disconnect the battery every time you go to shut it off. Done. A lot easier. So with your power plant complete, mount your motor into the mount, lock that into place. Make sure you get it as low as possible without scraping the prop on the ground down below. Get your 9-volt battery hooked up, your switch is ready. When you fire that up, you should have a working hovercraft. There you have it. There you have it. Simple hovercraft made from recycling materials. You get a styrofoam meat tray, paper cup, some dollar store foam board, a few cheap electronics from Amazon, and a 9-volt battery. You notice in the video the hovercraft tend to want to spin one side or the other. To help take some of that spin out of it, you can cut little vents in the opposite corners. That'll just allow a little bit of airflow out, just to stabilize things a little more and stop it from spinning out of control. In a later video, I'll make a more advanced hovercraft. I'll do multiple engines, rudders, and might even go radio control. But this is just like an introduction to hovercrafts, and it's just a quick, simple project that anyone could tackle in under an hour. Basic materials, and I think honestly this whole thing, not including the 9-volt battery, probably costs less than a couple bucks in materials. So the 9 volts, just get them from the dollar store. They're a couple bucks a piece. It'll run for a few hours off the 9-volt and work pretty good. But there you go. That's your basic hovercraft. Thanks for watching.